Gang, today I'm going to be covering 5 lifestyle habits. Excuse me, it's early, the voice is waking up. That I have in place and I apply with a 90% compliance. I would say 90% plus compliance weekly, that help me have amazing days, structure, stay organized, stay on task, and also rebalance and recharge. So let's go into the first one. Simple 5, take what makes sense for you, adopt, mold, or maybe just create some awareness in your own lifestyle. Okay. So the first one is prioritizing the first hour of the day. So the first hour is for myself before I jump into work, before I jump into my cell phone or emails or social media. I block off that hour pretty sacredly to do something for myself. It's been reading and writing. That's been a real strong thing that's been consistent for me for a good amount of time now. And that's pouring into my own personal cup. And with times where, say, I'm leading or coaching in the early morning, say 6:30, that means to prioritize and protect that hour. I'm getting up and I have to move my wake up time, earlier to say 4 o'clock in the morning. So as I get the coffee, I can get, that full hour before I need to get into my mind into work mode and prepare and rehearse, write my lesson plan, and get ready to go coach my people. So why that one is so important is if we wake up, in my humble opinion, if we wake up and jump right into the day, for me, that's always felt like this wheel, and that I'm not getting that time to fill into my own personal cup. And how can I personally show up, be my best self if it's just this constant, give, and I'm not giving to myself. So that's my first one, and it's pretty sacred. When there's more time allotted, say like on Sunday, I will expand that to a few hours. So it's a pretty sacred time in the morning that's devoted to self. The next one, and this is new and it's been super helpful, is I've began to time block these sections off within my day. So as a small business owner, there's so many things that I could and need to be addressing or focusing on or improving all the time. And I would imagine the same would be true for, say, a parent or anybody who's got their self involved in a bunch of things, or a lot of things are demanded of them. And that can feel overwhelming at times. And I know for me, that's been the case. So recently I began implementing a simple Google Calendar, and on Sundays, I would start to map out my day. I'd plug in where I'm coaching, where I had any appointments. I would block off time where I'm going to fitness so I can prioritize, again, my self-care. I'd block off my morning, I call it self-development time. Again, so it's in the calendar. And then also my adherence and my accountability goes up through the roof because I've already planned it and I'm going to follow through on it. Again, 90% compliance. So I plug those things in, and then anything that kind of example, today, okay, I know I need this block here for X and this for here. I'll map that out. And it helps me stay on task. It helps me go from, this hour or 90 minutes is devoted to this. And once that's done, which this was tricky for me, now I can and shift into X. And sometimes those roles were trickier for me, but the organization has really helped, where in the past I would see everything and maybe I'd get pulled in certain directions, and maybe my productivity wasn't where I wanted it to be. So this one has really helped organize my day, view my day, and it starts on Sunday when I map out the week. I can see those things. And again, map out, it's also helped me understand where I'm almost pouring out too much. I need to say, okay, hey, maybe I tipped the scales a little bit too much here, or vice versa. Number 3, and this one's big for people, and I don't know, I haven't heard in communication with a lot of folks that I work with in nutrition and just in conversation think this way, but I'm always mapping out and mentally preparing my nutrition for the day. And usually that will be, if it's a workout day, I'll ask myself, where's that workout fitting in my day? Because that will determine where the bulk of the post-workout carbohydrates are going to be. And I can work backwards and kind of start mapping out the meals, because they're pretty consistent day to day without much deviation. So I can say, okay, I'm working at 4:15 today. the meal's going to happen here, that time, now I can start to block in my mind the times of when I'm going to eat my 4 meals throughout the day, so I can better prepare. So I'm not going off of impulse. I'm not going off of not having food or preparing food or bringing food and then under eating or things of that nature. So I mentally map out and plan my meals for the day at the beginning to say, okay, what does this look like? And if it's a rest day, again, that has more flexibility. I still go through, okay, I'm going to eat at 9, and then I'm going to eat again around at 12, and then 3-ish, and then end of the day at like 6:37. So I can get a loose plan for food, because that's so important, not only for performance, but again, how we operate mentally, how we feel. Obviously, we all have goals, whether we want to gain, maintain, lose weight, feel good, be healthy, and preparing and planning is always going to help you with that versus, just winging it. The fourth one, I set intentions for my day. This one might be the one that I would imagine for some folks could be like foo-foo or tricky to wrap their minds around. It's been extremely powerful for me. So lately I've been reading this book, and I've been spending time in the morning asking myself, how will I show up today? Who will I be today? And how can my best self show up? Oftentimes I can even ask myself, what could trip me up today? Because life is always going to have things that are going to trip you up, and how will my best self show up? So I kind of go through those scenarios in my mind mentally. And I will visualize my day. I will map out the day, and there's different aspects of myself that are going to be demanded in certain parts. And through that, I will recognize where strengths have the ability to shine through, and I will call on those. And then I will also realize where maybe some challenges or self-limiting beliefs or anything like that can arise too, and I'll start to address those. So I will take time to set intentions and write on those for the day, and then I will visualize, and I will actually speak those as well when I'm in the car. So that one for me has been so soul-filling. And I know that's a trickier one for people to or could be, I should say. I don't want to pass a thought like that, but it could be tricky for people, in my experience, to wrap their self around. But that inner work, that speaking of those things, man, that's been so powerful, and I love that one. And then the fifth one, my neighbor, he gives me a hard time for this one, but now he's doing it, which is so funny. I prioritize recharge time. And this was a question that actually came from a member, Candace. We were talking the other day. And sometimes we can get in the habit of we just go all the way through our day, all the way up to bedtime. And we can just kind of feel like we're always on, and we're not getting that time to recoup and have time for ourselves. And then if you get in that cycle, man, it just doesn't feel great. It doesn't feel great for our psyche, for just anything. So I prioritize recharge time. And for me, what that could look like is, depending on how the day shakes out, I will ideally, again, this is ideals, have a cutoff time for, emails, social media, even texting if possible. Sometimes that's not always possible. I need to communicate with some people. But have a time that stops. So I'm not on the phone. The phone can be draining sometimes, and I'm not I'm actually unplugging. And for me, it could be, mindless TV to really pull me out of this engagement, this calling on my creative pulses, and showing up to serve versus like reading for me is very engaging. So, I prioritize that in the early part of the day to kind of get me going, where at the nighttime, it might be, hey, here's an hour or two of mindless TV that you can kind of check out, and you're not on your computer or your phone. Little things like I start to darken everything, the shades, lights. I'll try to put the last meal somewhere in the neighborhood of 7 to 7:30, knowing I'm going to bed at 9:30, 10 o'clock-ish. Keep the room really, really cool. Things like that, where, again, just like the sacred morning time, the hour for self, the winding down time. And it's funny, my neighbor, he would try to get in touch with me sometimes, and then later I would share, hey, I was on recharge time, and he'd give me such a hard time, and then I just laugh, fast forward, say, hey, looking to connect at a certain time, like maybe midday, because he's retired, and he'd be like, I'm recharging, and now he knows and embodies the plugging your phone in, the phone analogy of like the phone going, starting our day at 100%. Should we sleep well and again get all the things in line? Immediately as we start our day, that phone it's not plugged in, it starts to go down, the battery life. So for me, that's part of it. And I extend it out like the last 90 minutes to 2 hours of the day to begin the recharge. So my best self can show up to serve, to give, to help, to be my best self for what I love to do, helping people and just for myself. So those are 5 habits, lifestyle things that I implement, again, with a 90% plus compliance. Perfection's not the goal, but doing those the majority of the time has proven for me to feel and operate my best self. Waking up early and prioritizing that first hour plus for pouring into me, whatever that means for the individual. Time blocking the day, mapping out where are the most important pieces, and then filling in. And this is a big one, especially if you struggle with fitness, is like block it in and then work everything else around it. Mapping out the meals. If one of your goals is to lose weight, lose fat, map out your meals. And you start to see that your groceries are going down. Like, okay, I know that I need to grocery shop this day, and that's going to fill in the calendar, right? So I can stay on track versus going to a gas station or going to fast food or just not eating and things like that. So preparing in advance, setting intentions for the day, taking that time, even if it's in your car by yourself, turn the music off for 5 minutes, whatever that may be, or before, or in your hour for yourself, and spend time, identify who I'm going to be for the day. Where could I get tripped up today? How will my best self show up today? And that, spend a little bit of time. And I know big stuff comes from that. And then lastly is prioritize your recharge time, whatever that means for you and whatever that looks like for you. I know some folks don't even have TV, and maybe that is their reading time and, things like that, or time with their partner or whatever that may be. But again, making those things a priority. So those are 5. I'd love to hear how any and if of those have helped you or could help you or you will implement, and share with me, please, because I would love to talk about them.